Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grid Tonight, our weekly motorsports news program. Joe Samaniego here with Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, and we start with the news that broke out Saturday. We do want to share that we were granted permission from Soph to share with you her story and respectfully respect the wishes of others to not be named. We want to say we admire the bravery and courage displayed by Soph and many others that share the same unfortunate incident. Thursday last week, news broke around the National Football League's Washington, D.C. football club team that plays in the United States. Women that were employed by the football team there had experienced sexual harassment from coworkers employed at the Washington, D.C. football team. Saturday, several social media posts from women shared their harrowing experience within the motorsports community. Many posts and screenshots of the sexual harassment received online and stories of physical in-person sexual harassment. Some even shared about being sexually assaulted. One of the victims was Soph, who shared a screenshot of messages sent from Aaron Gillard. Aaron was named by multiple victims sharing screenshots of his inappropriate messages. Aaron covered Formula 1, Formula 2, and eSports. Since the news broke out, several racing partners have terminated their partnership with Aaron, and many around the motorsport community are calling for further action to be taken against him. Overwhelmingly, support for Soph and many others who expressed their experiences on social media was shown by everyone in the motorsports community. This prompted discussions of improving the culture, especially since motorsports is a male-dominated sport. After the shock and outrage came the questions of how to prevent sexual harassment in the motorsports community and ensure everyone feels safe and welcome. To the many brave women that shared their experience, we are listening. We value you as a partner in the motorsports community, and together we'll advocate for positive changes in the motorsport community.
Sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical harassment of sexual nature. Harassment does not have to be of sexual nature, however, and can include offensive remarks about a person's sex. For example, it is illegal to harass a woman by making offensive comments about women in general. This also includes biased treatment in favor or against a person because of their sex. This includes questioning a woman's capability in auto racing because of her sex, or assuming a female race fan is only drawn to the sport because a male racer is attractive. All of these examples are sexist and should never, ever be tolerated. We also need to understand the difficulties a victim faces when being harassed, especially in the workplace. Too often, the victim is threatened, with the fear of losing their livelihood, or they won't be believed if they report the harassment. Despite legal protections that exist for reporting, the fear is still too real. We all have a role in preventing sexual assault in the motorsports community, and it starts with everyone: race fans, members of the motorsports media, racing teams, racing series. We all play a role in ensuring everyone feels safe, calling out sexual harassment, and creating a welcoming environment for all.
Later on in Grid Tonight, we will cover tips on recognizing, preventing, and reporting sexual harassment. For a healthy and welcoming motorsports community, we all together play a role in upholding an environment that welcomes all race fans.
Absolutely, Joe. Yeah, as you just mentioned, we'll provide some tips at the end of our program for tonight, and we want to thank you for joining us here on Grid Tonight. And now we're going to discuss some news that broke in the IMSA world. So several days ago, a French media outlet named Auto Hebdo initially reported that Acura and Team Penske will part ways at the end of the current IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season. This is the third year of the Acura Team Penske DPI program. The number 6 team of Dane Cameron and Juan Pablo Montoya claimed the DPI title last year. However, both Acura DPIs have endured a forgettable start to the 2020 season, especially all of the issues that the number 7 team of Ricky Taylor and Helio Castroneves have faced so far. And yesterday, the news was made official that Acura and Team Penske would indeed split at the conclusion of the current season. It was a mutual agreement to end their relationship and move on. And this move makes many wonder what's next for the Acura DPI program and Team Penske in sports car racing. So, Joe, were you stunned that Acura and Team Penske decided to head in opposite directions?
I was quite stunned to hear the news. Penske, Acura, they've had a pretty good combination. A lot of times, especially with Robert Penske, partnership seems to be always a good, long, healthy partnership. Of course, Acura was just owned by Honda. Penske used them for a while in the IndyCar series as well. In fact, it was Honda that Penske worked with in kart after some unsuccessful years and then started getting championships with Jill DeFerrin. So this was pretty stunning to hear that. Same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Penske starts looking at possibly other replacements that we might discuss a little bit about. But I do think it was a bit of a surprise for everyone, considering Penske always seems to have pretty good partnerships.
Yeah, it definitely caught me off guard as well. I understand, that Penske and Acura were having some issues, starting the season off. I wouldn't necessarily say that it was anybody's fault, but a lot of bad luck and mechanical issues going on with their Acura DPIs, and I assume that I thought Acura and Team Penske, were going to be together well into the future, into the LMDH era. And speaking of LMDH, Team Penske has actually been linked to several future LMDH programs, and one of the manufacturers evaluating the new LMDH platform is Porsche. And in the mid to late 2000s, Team Penske fielded the Porsche RS Spider LMP2 cars in the American Le Mans series. Do you think we could see a reunion between Team Penske and Porsche when the LMDH era arrives in a few years?
I do see that potential, especially in the past. I believe Penske was with Porsche in the Can-Am series back in the day. So I do see where this could be a potential reunion, especially after their success in the American Le Mans series. With that said, though, I think a lot of people will be really shocked if for some reason that didn't go through, because considering the timing of this news, Penske, I think a lot of people are anticipating that there will be a Porsche Penske reunion.
Yeah, with Acura planning to change its DPI strategy next year, looking back on the days of the American Le Mans series, Acura had multiple teams fill their Le Mans prototypes instead of an exclusive one like Acura Team Penske. And Dane Cameron, Juan Pablo Montoya, Ricky Taylor, and Helio Castroneves have their futures up in the air at the moment. Do you think we could see Acura field a customer-based DPI program instead of having one factory team represent the manufacturer?
That's what I'm really curious about is where Acura is going to go forward with this, where Honda may go forward with this. Could we see maybe the Honda badging coming to IMSA, or will they stick with Acura? It's really a lot is on the air. It's going to be really interesting to see all the things that develop and where everything goes forward, especially with this story.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with the Acura DPI program, and it's going to be interesting to see if Acura is going to stick around when we move into the LMDH era as well. And also, there's an announcement coming tomorrow from the United Autosports sports car team. So stay tuned, folks. Have no idea what it's going to be about, but United Autosports is well involved in the motorsports community.
Definitely. And folks, as a friendly program reminder, tomorrow we have a special Grid Live pre-race prior to the NASCAR Cup Series race. So we hope you join you, and definitely we'll have some updates in regards to that announcement. Speaking about announcements, of course, we all may have heard Mario Randy's comments recently. Recently, a Chilean newspaper interviewed Mario Randy and asked about Lewis Hamilton's role in the Black Lives Matter movement. And Reddy said he wishes politics wouldn't get messed up in sports, believing there's a time and place to express your opinion. While discussing the Bubba Wallace news incident, and Reddy said what happened with NASCAR and Bubba Wallace became bigger than it should be. What seems to be a terrible situation was finally not. It was disproportionately and without reason blown up. This happens when you think about politics before anything else, is what Mario claimed. In addition, Andretti said that he had lost respect for Lewis Hamilton. I mean, a lot of respect for Lewis Hamilton, excuse me, but wonders why he became very militant, claiming that Lewis had always been accepted and earned everyone's respect, not facing any problems of racism. Andretti criticized the all black Mercedes livery, stating that he doesn't know what good will it do. Another quote from Reddy, in which he says, I don't know how to explain, but there have already been black drivers in IndyCar, NASCAR, and they have always been welcome. I even friends with some of them to this day. I don't know what's wrong. Yes, maybe there's a little diversity, but it's not because they are discriminated against. That's the point. Lewis Hamilton responded to Andretti's comment on his Instagram feed. In his feed, he comments, This is disappointing, but unfortunate a reality that some of the older generations who still have a voice today cannot get out of their own way and acknowledge there's a problem. Again, this is plain ignorance, but this will not stop me from continuing to push for change. It is never too late to learn, and I hope that this man, who I've always had respect for, can take the time and educate himself. Kobe, I know these comments were a bit shocking for a lot of folks. What were your initial thoughts when you saw these comments coming from one of the greatest racing drivers of all time, Mario Andretti?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Joe. I was a little disappointed in Mario Andretti's comments. Obviously, he is entitled to his opinion, but I feel like he really doesn't see the big picture here, especially when he says that Lewis is creating a problem that doesn't exist. And the likes of Lewis Hamilton and Bubba Wallace are not only standing up for minorities in the motorsports community, but their leadership has been felt well outside of the community as well. Both of those drivers have discussed some of the racism that they've experienced in the racing world. And racism, it exists in motorsports and everywhere in the world. It's not exclusive to just one environment. I think most people have good intentions towards others, but we still have some who still carry hate in their heart. So yes, there is a problem that does exist, even if you cannot see it for yourself. Personally, I have a lot of respect for Mario Andretti. He's forever a hero of the sport, one of the most talented racing drivers of all time. I definitely put him on Mount Rushmore of the motorsports world. However, I hope that he will open his eyes and ears and educate himself about the Black Lives Matter movement and the message Lewis Hamilton, among others, are trying to send. Even at 80 years old, Mario Andretti, it's never too late to listen and learn.
And I agree with you. Mario Andretti, a lot of folks are familiar with his story. Born in Italy, his family came to the United States. His father had to work really hard. He has a very different perspective of struggles that he experienced as an immigrant, which are very different from what African Americans face in the United States and even being born in the United States. While the racing community has traditionally always been very welcoming of anybody, we still have room for improvement. I think one of the big things I really hope to see is Mario Andretti and Lewis Hamilton sit down and discuss and provide a learning opportunity for Mario Andretti. Because this is very similar to what Bernie Ecclestone had said the entire, oh, I don't see the racism, it's not racist here. Lewis Hamilton has seen it. We've seen some several times where fans use this race to mock and intimidate Lewis. It may not happen in the paddock, but it's been there, and Lewis Hamilton has experienced it. And that's where I think Mario Andretti really should take the opportunity, give Lewis Hamilton a call, sit down, listen, learn, and discuss, because I think it's just something where the two of them could really learn and benefit everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that that might be the right thing for those two to do. Obviously they can't really meet face to face right now because of the global pandemic, but like on Zoom or whatever they use, just like sit down on on webcam and just talk about it, and try to come to a common understanding, where Mario speaks his mind and Lewis tries to, tell everything from his perspective, and hopes, Mario Andretti seeing seeing the world. Well, obviously Mario Andretti will never know what it's like to be Lewis Hamilton, and everything he's experienced, but the least he can do is to learn and listen and educate himself about all of the social problems going on in the world. And next, going to provide an update on Alex Zanardi, the 1997-1998 champion, has been transferred to a specialist recovery center and lifted from a medically induced coma. He has had 3 surgeries and has been placed in a medically induced coma since his accident in June when he collided with the commercial vehicle while using a hand bike in Italy. And we continue to send our best wishes to Alex Zanardi, his family, and his friends during this challenging time.
Cal Crutchlow and Marc Marquez both had successful surgery after sustaining injuries at the Jerez circuit decided the MotoGP season opener. Cal will be at the track seeking medical clearance from the MotoGP medical director. Cal suffered a fractured left wrist, and doctors placed a small pin to heal the fracture. Marc Marquez is likely to miss the next round after fracturing his arm. Doctors have placed a titanium plate and several screws. Marc Marquez has said he intends to be back for the Czech Grand Prix in early August.
And yesterday, the three different courses that'll be used for the final 6 Formula E races of the season was revealed. The three are the traditional course, but reverse direction for rounds 6 and 7. The traditional course for rounds 8 and 9, and a new course with several new corners, reducing the length of the two backstretch. In addition, Brendan Hartley is out at Dragon. Red Bull test driver Sergio Camera will replace him for the final 6 races in Berlin.
Jimmy Johnson will get a chance to test for Chip Ganassi's IndyCar team Tuesday at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the third attempt for a test session. The first test session was called off due to the pandemic at Barber Motorsport, and then Jimmy Johnson tested positive for the virus prior to the July test at Indianapolis Motor Speedway around the time of the Brickyard 400. It was also announced that the Indianapolis 500 local blackout will be lifted. We will report more on this tomorrow on our Grid Life pre-race program, which will discuss more about the announcements from Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Jimmy Johnson's upcoming test.
Yeah, and yesterday before 5 p.m. Eastern Time, NASCAR announced that practice and qualifying will be canceled for the remainder of the 2020 season in the 3 national series. IndyCar, Formula One, and IMSA still have practice and qualifying without any issues at all. So if those 3 series can do it, why can't NASCAR do the same? Even the ARCA Menard series under the NASCAR, stock car umbrella still hosts a practice session before each event.
Definitely part of it seems to be a little bit of cost control, and that one of the big things we do know NASCAR has the RTA. There was some comments on how this is going to save the teams a lot of money. You don't have to worry about practice. You don't have to do work for the qualifying. And we do know with this global pandemic going on, there are a lot of uncertainties when it comes to businesses, especially in financial shape they are in. We're still trying to make it to where we're cutting costs down. So that's one aspect we're seeing. When it comes to the Arc Menard series, a lot of times these are younger, inexperienced drivers. They're learning, be too much of a safety hazard for them to go out without any practice. When you are at the cup level, especially, you're seen as one of the best stock car drivers in the United States, in the world, coming to the United States to race in the Cup Series. So I believe that is part of the reason why we're seeing where NASCAR is sticking to no practice, no qualifying for the remainder of 2020.
Yeah, and one notable track without any sort of track time will be the upcoming Daytona Road Course in August. Most drivers have never turned a lap on the Rolex 24 layout, and nobody with experience in a stock car. And according to Bob Pockers from Fox Sports, NASCAR said that drivers will not be allowed to compete in more than one road course race at Daytona and gain valuable track time. So, Joe, do you think this is a fair move by NASCAR to even the playing field?
It seems like it'll definitely even the playing field. We know the drivers, almost everyone has an iRacing account, some sort of simulator to try to get onto the Daytona road course. When it comes to the other road course events to try to get a little bit more practice, that's going to be very limited as well. So definitely this is going to create it to where the competition is going to be wide open. I think you'll still have some of your favorites, especially that are really good in the road courses. Jimmy Johnson is a good one. This could be a real good opportunity for him. Of course, we could expect some road course specialists coming into a Cup Series or one of the other three series racing the road course to try to learn, have a good time, and provide good results to a team that's really looking for a surprise win. So it's definitely, I say, level the playing field. There's still going to be some favorites, and it's just going to be really interesting to see what happens on the race weekend.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see them go to the Daytona Road Course without any practice at all. We don't really like know for sure what the speeds are going to be like, but it's definitely going to be some high speeds at this track because Daytona Road Course is a high speed, low downforce track, and it's gonna be interesting to see what's going to happen. When they throw the green flag and all of the drivers head down into the heavy braking zone down in the turn one and and I've seen during the Rolex 24 where some drivers will forget that that they're supposed to brake and they just keep going. And I remember Jimmy Johnson ran the Rolex 24. Jimmy missed the braking zone when he was running one of the Daytona prototypes heading down into turn one into the infield. And Jimmy just kept going straight, and then the announcers cracked a little joke and be like, "Oh, Jimmy must have forgot that the Daytona 500 is not for 2 weeks." So it's gonna be interesting to see if the mental game is gonna mess with the drivers there. Be like, I'm so used to running the Daytona Oval, and be like, and then you completely miss your breaking point, and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that I was supposed to break. Yeah, so it would definitely be interesting. And also, I'm not sure if the rule about the driver competing in one race, picking one series to race in, I'm not sure if that applies to any road course specialists that we're
Mm.
going to see. And also, Andy Lally announced that he's going to be running for our motorsports in the Xfinity Series at Road America and the Daytona Road Course. And I'll definitely have to check back on the fact if the road course ringers, non NASCAR regulars, if they will have to pick one race and stick to it. But if that's the case, I think it could open up the door for more road course specialists to get rides if they're forced to choose one series. So that might be one positive aspect of this.
That's a really good point. We could see more road course specialists get an opportunity to race, especially with that rule. Now, one thing a lot of folks have been talking about lately has been the lack of mask and social distancing, particularly at Texas Motor Speedway. Last Sunday, NASCAR raced at Texas Motor Speedway for the O'Reilly 500. The race had fans in attendance, second big race weekend in a row with attendance. Mask and social distancing was required, but many are drawing criticism, especially during the red flag period after the major crash on the front stretch, which saw Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, and many more get collected. Many fans were seen on the NBC sports coverage running down towards the catch fans to capture a photo or video of their favorite driver. This follows the Bristol All Star race where fans rushed down to see Chase Elliott after he won the All Star race. How concerned should NASCAR be about the lack of mask and social distancing at their events?
First and foremost, I want to say I completely understand, that those fans were so excited to get back to the track, and I'm sure it was definitely an exciting moment for them. And then when they stopped the cars right there on the front stretch, they were right there in front of them. They were excited to take a picture of the drivers, and I do understand the excitement, especially since it's been a while since a lot of those fans have been to the racetrack. Yeah, so I totally get that part. But also at the same time, Texas right now is one of the major hotspots for the virus in the United States, and and it was very disappointing seeing all those fans, packed tight down at the fence. There was no social distancing whatsoever down at the fence. And then they tell you to wear a mask if you can't socially distance. And then I did not see a mask in those camera shots. And NBC just the proof is in the pudding because NBC caught all on the camera. And considering that Texas is a major hotspot right now, I'm really worried. In the next 1 to 2 weeks or so, we might see some of those fans who are at the track, crowded down the fence, might end up getting sick or hospitalized. So I'm definitely not trying to knock any fans who want to go to the track and have a good time, and just being a human being. I'm a human being, who's concerned for other human beings out there, and I don't want anybody to get sick. I want everyone to have a great time, and at the same time, I want people to make smart decisions so they're not putting themselves in danger or others as well.
I would definitely agree with you. I know being a race fan, the joy of getting back at the racetrack, especially the season ticket holders that come to this race annually every year, this is their big thing. It's not often you have the opportunity to get a close up picture of your race car driver, especially when they're in the race car. This is something where we've seen before when there is a cup race or any race, especially in a super speedway where they're under red flag and the cars are stopped on the racetrack. You will see fans run to the catch fence area, capture pictures. When a driver wins, like we did at Bristol, it's almost customary when the driver goes to pick up the checker flag, or in Tony Stewart's case, climb the fence. Fans will come around to get close, capture that moment. Definitely, it would have been really nice to see, you know, track personnel there trying to encourage social distancing, wear a mask. Definitely, I see this as a learning opportunity for NASCAR. NASCAR could revisit this, work with Texas Motor Speedway and other speedways that will be hosting fans, and try to make it to where this doesn't become a big issue. Now, speaking about this possibly become a big issue, and this is very related to what we just discussed, Indianapolis Motor Speedway announced for the next month's 104th running of the Indianapolis 500, masks will be required. The capacity, which was anticipated to be 50%, has been reduced to 25%. Fans will be handed hand sanitizer. Seats will be rearranged to encourage social distancing. Temperature checks for race fans, and there's nearly almost 100 pages of protocol. What more can NASCAR do to ensure the race fans are safe at the racetracks?
To be honest, I'm not really sure what more NASCAR can do, but NASCAR has their guidelines and protocols in place, and I think the only thing that they need to do is actually enforce those. And, and especially with the Indianapolis 500 saying that will be required. I've actually seen a lot of places where they say that masks will be required for entry, but once you get in the track, you hardly see anybody wearing the mask. I mean, if you're like sitting like all the way over here away from everybody else, I think I think it's perfectly fine where you don't have to wear a mask. They tell all the health experts are saying wear a mask when you cannot socially distance, and if you can spread out and socially distance, away from others. I definitely wouldn't hold it against somebody if they didn't want to wear a mask at that point. But if you're like what we saw at Texas, if you're in a crowd of people like that, it might be a smart idea to wear a mask. And I just feel like that the biggest thing here is when the rules are in place, they actually need people to enforce those rules. And I feel really bad for all of the workers that have to enforce those guidelines. I understand, it's not ideal for everybody, to wear a mask, because they get hot and all of that. And it's really uncomfortable. Even I don't really like wearing the mask myself, but I do it because I know it's the right thing to do during this time, and I don't have an issue wearing one if it's going to protect me and other people as well. And I just Yeah, and it's definitely going to be hard for those people to enforce the rule because I've seen some videos on the internet and the news, like when people try to enforce it, they get called all kinds of ugly names, and sometimes it creates a brawl. It's just really hard. I understand it's definitely hard to enforce a rule like that, but it's definitely something that needs to be enforced, and hopefully, if it is more enforced by to the fans, Hopefully they're respectful to their workers and understand, that is nothing personal. That they're only trying to do their job and keep everyone safe who comes to the track to enjoy a race.
Yes, but definitely, especially for the folks working the tracks, hopeful that fans do treat them with respect. It's one thing to be working on a track to just prevent fans from getting too close to the catch fans, helping them out with finding seats and other information. Now they have the extra task of enforcing a rule that some feel is unpopular. Yeah, wearing a mask, especially a 3 hour race when it's 100 degrees, ain't the most pleasant thing, but definitely is highly encouraged because of all the benefits of wearing a mask, especially protecting others and yourself from this virus. It's definitely going to be interesting to see if NASCAR starts looking at some of the steps that Indianapolis Motor Speedway said they will. Now, of course, for Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is their one big event. For most of the racetracks up ahead, like Darlington, like Talladega, they have one event left. So it'll be really interesting to see if those tracks start to implementing some more steps, especially the temperature checks and the hand sanitizers for everyone. That's going to be really interesting to see. That will definitely be a story we'll be following a lot more. And be sure to tune into tomorrow's special edition of Grid Live pre-race. We're going to be on the air prior to the NASCAR race at Kansas Speedway. We're also going to preview the MotoGP race at Jerez for their second round. You can find us right here on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, and Ultimate Sports Radio Network.
Yeah, and as we end this episode tonight, we want to revisit the top story of sexual harassment and this time on how all of us in the motorsports community can play a role. It starts with each one of us not assuming something towards a member of the motorsports community based on their sex. Assuming a person is less knowledgeable about the sport because of their sex is an unwelcoming feeling. This includes using stereotypes against a person's ability because of their sex. These are sexist stereotypes. They are wrong and not welcome. And gentlemen, we need to start holding other men accountable when we are aware of something wrong happening. Choosing not to take a stand against unwanted behavior directed towards an individual is not an acceptable response at all. Even if your best friend of many years is guilty, you must take action and stand with the victim. In not only the motorsports community, but society in general, we need to do a better job of making the environment more welcoming and comfortable. Allow disgraceful, sickening acts to keep on happening because our women deserve much, much better.
Sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical harassment, including online. If you witness sexual harassment, say something. Stop the inappropriate behavior immediately is a clear sign that sexual harassment is not tolerated in this environment or the motorsports community. This includes making inappropriate jokes towards a person based on their sex. Definitely stopping it as soon as it occurs prevents it from reoccurring again.
Sexual harassment at the workplace is illegal. Employers have a responsibility to have a work culture that has no place for inappropriate behavior. If you experience sexual harassment at the workplace, document it. If anyone witnesses it, include it in a report to the supervisor or HR. If you are concerned about negative repercussions, seek legal assistance. Any negative consequences handed are illegal, and you must take legal action.
The best way to prevent sexual harassment is to not allow it to happen. We all play a role. We all can make a positive difference. The number of members in the motorsport community that came out and acknowledged that we need to do better in response to Saturday's post is a start. It says that we all agree that sexual harassment has no place in the motorsports community. We all foster the type of environment we want to welcome people enjoy motorsports, enjoy positive growth of the sport we love, and make the sport we love better for everyone. For Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Good night, everyone.